To begin, I'd like to start off with a quote from a soldier during the Korean War, just kind of giving you the mindset of what it was like during this war. The quote comes from Chesty Puller, United States Marine Corps, at the Chosin Reservoir. He said, "They're on our right, they're on our left, they're in front of us, they're behind us. They can't get away from us this time." Hello, my name is James Flagger. Today I'm going to be talking about the Korean War. In order to understand this war, I'm going to talk about the events leading up to the war itself, and the outcome of the war and how it's looked at today. So now you know what we're talking about. We're begin with what led up to the war. First of all, the Korean War was a byproduct of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. The U.S. supported South Korea in democracy, while the Soviet Union supported North Korea in communism. In 1949, Kim Il-sung, the leader of North Korea, went to Soviet leader Joseph Stalin and initially asked permission to invade South Korea and to get his support that he would be backed in his decision. Stalin didn't think the U.S. would intervene in this, so he decided that it was best for communism that North Korea invaded South and the whole peninsula became a communist state. So on June 25th, 1950, North Korea invaded South Korea. When they initially invaded, North Korea easily pushed south all the way back to the southern city of Busan. This marked the first military action of the Cold War. And the only reason that the U.S. ended up intervening in this war was because they were afraid of communism at the time, and they had a fear that this would start a domino effect throughout Asia and throughout Europe. So now you know what actually led up to the war. We're going to discuss the war itself. Since South Korea pretty much only had control of a small part of the country, which is Busan, this is where the U.S. initially landed. After little effective fighting there, General Douglas MacArthur decided to put together an amphibious assault at the harbor of Incheon. This amphibious assault is still one of the most successful assaults ever in U.S. warfare. It broke North Korean supply lines and cut off their troops. This was a major shifting point in the war, since after that, the U.S. easily pushed North Korea back into North Korea and almost into China. However, China, out of fear that the U.S. would not stop in North Korea and would push into their country, stopped the United States' advance. So North Korea and China decided they were going to counter the United States and South Korea, and they pushed them all the way back to the 38th parallel. This ended up causing a bloody stalemate, and during this time also the UN began drafting the armistice out of fear that this would start another world war. Below I've attached visual aid showing some of the battles throughout the Korean Peninsula. Well, this armistice, though, was signed on July 27th, 1953. Part of this armistice was that there would be a demilitarized zone at the 38th parallel of Korea. During this war, the U.S. lost 33,686 troops, South Korea lost 415,004 troops, and North Korea, which is only an estimate because they didn't report their actual number of losses, was 512,000. So now you know what actually happened during the war. We're going to talk about the outcome and how the two Koreas look at each other today. The DMZ, which is the demilitarized zone, is still set up today. And if you look again, I also have a visual aid showing the DMZ. The DMZ is pretty much South Korea and North Korea are faced off daily, just making sure that neither one of them cross into each other's country. It's a very highly guarded piece of land, and neither of them budge really. However, there have been numerous times where altercations have happened all across the DMZ. One of the most famous ones happened on August 17th, 1976, and this was known as the Axe Murder Incident. During this incident, there was a team of U.S. soldiers and South Korean soldiers that were sent to a tree that trimmed the branches since it was blocking a Korean outpost. When they got to the tree to begin cutting it down, they were met by North Korean soldiers who at first were just watching them cut the branches down. After a little bit, North Korean soldiers told them to stop, which was ignored by the U.S. troops. So North Korea essentially attacked two American officers. The first was Captain Arthur Boniface, and when they attacked him, they actually took the axe that they were using to cut down the branches and killed him with it. The second was First Lieutenant Mark Barrett, who was also mortally wounded by an axe, but was recovered, but still died later. So today, even in our time, the relation between North and South Korea is tense, even as most of you have seen stuff on the news about the two countries. Especially since South Korea has prospered since the war, and North Korea has pretty much declined with famine and political strife. North Korea constantly threatens South Korea with the use of force, saying that they're going to invade them, that they could easily wipe them out. And also they threaten other world powers, since they are always looking to try to get nuclear weapons and enrich uranium. The last altercation between the two countries was November 23rd, 2010, when North Korea actually used artillery on a small island off the coast of South Korea. This attack wounded 17 South Korean Marines and killed 2. It also injured 3 civilians. So, as a conclusion of what happened during this war, we looked at what led up to it and how the war was essentially a byproduct of the Cold War. We talked about the North Korea's push all the way down to Pusan, and the U.S. assault on Incheon and the signing of the Armistice Agreement. We then covered the DMZ and the Korean axe, or the axe murder incident that happened at the DMZ. And finally, we talked about Korean relations today and the shelling of the island on November 23rd, 2010. I personally have always been interested in this war because it's not something that we hear a lot about. We hear a lot about Vietnam and World War II, and of course now with Iraq and Afghanistan. Because we don't know a lot about this war, it has been named the Forgotten War. And a lot of people don't understand that technically they're still at war. The armistice was just pretty much saying we're taking a break, but neither of us say that we have won or lost. So I'm encouraging you guys to go and actually look up stuff for yourself about this war, because there's so much that I was not able to cover. So thank you for your time. Bye.